You know, it seems like the rage lately is to take an AK-47, an AR-15, or some kind of H&K different type rifle and make it into a pistol. But one of the things about the AR-15 is there are some things that are inherent about this rifle that make this much more practical as a pistol configuration. So today we're going to take a look at the AR-15 pistol, and of course I've just done a build series based around this, even though that would apply to any rifle or pistol. But we're going to talk about the uses of this, many of the tactical applications, and just all the accessories and the different things that you can do to this pistol to make it not only fun, but can be very practical. I want to talk a little bit about the considerations of building a pistol and some of the pitfalls that you need to consider. One of the things I'm going to say right up front is that if I had a choice between an AR pistol and an AR carbine or a rifle, I would choose the rifle or the carbine hands down. It's a much better, more effective self-defense type weapon. It's a lot more fun to shoot. But the pistol does have a lot of advantages, and mainly in that it is a very small package. It's really compact, it's really easy to maneuver, so I really like it. And I definitely feel that it has a good place in my self-defense arsenal. But one of the first things I want to talk about is the barrel length. For a rifle, the barrel has to be 16 inches or more to be considered a basic legal rifle. If you go beyond 16 inches, that is considered an SBR, or a short-barreled rifle. Your basic pistol lengths are 7.5 inches, which is really pretty small. There can be some reliability issues. This is a 10.5 inch, and my buddy Robbie Wheaton at Wheaton Arms recommended highly that the shortest barrel that I should do is a 10.5 inch barrel. I have a good friend of mine that just built a pistol, and he put an 11.5 inch barrel on his. To me, it's a little bit long, but it still works very well, and it still brings the length of the firearm down. Now, when considering your stock options, a rifle also has to be at least 26 inches in overall length. So that just gives you an idea. You have to have at least 16 inches in the barrel, 26 inches overall as your length of your rifle. Now, the other thing about a pistol is it can't have a stock. Is that this is a buffer tube, which according to the ATF is perfectly legal to do. But you don't want to have extra stocks laying around that you've used just to slip on these. So because of that, I took paracord, I epoxied it onto this older buffer tube, and then I sealed the cap. The end cap is not a stock, it's just some kind of cap or some kind of rubberized cap. And that is also legal with the ATF because it does not constitute a stock. Again, the one good thing about the AR-15 system is this buffer tube is an integral part of this weapon system. So because of that, you have a ready-made cheek weld to be able to use when firing this weapon. So you're not firing it just with your hands, and this will give you some accuracy advantage over just a pistol that rounds off right here at the receiver. Now, unless you're buying an AR-15 pistol as an AR-15 pistol, complete, ready to go, if you're buying a stripped lower, you have to make sure that that stripped lower is purchased on the 4473 form, your federal firearms form. It has to be listed as a pistol. You have to buy it as a pistol. And once you do that, it can never have been built as a rifle. It has to have always been a pistol or a virgin lower. So make sure that you do that. I would definitely advise getting a receipt to keep with that. If you'll do that, then you're fine. Now, there are some questions about taking a pistol and building it back into a rifle and a rifle back into a pistol and all that. You know what? It's so convoluted. I'm not going to give any recommendation on that or advice. All I'm saying is, to me, if you have a pistol, just keep it as a pistol. And don't be tempted to take the upper off and put it on your rifle and play around, because that does constitute a breach in the NFA regulations and can be a serious violation and can really jeopardize your rights as a firearm owner. Now, here we have the pistol and the rifle side by side, and here you can see there's a considerable amount of difference in the length of these two firearms. Even with this stock fully closed on the carbine, this still is a considerable difference on these two firearms. Okay, and this will give you another view of the difference between your carbine and your pistol. Extend the stock out and you really have a major difference. Now, because the AR-15s are so interchangeable, if you do have a carbine or a rifle, just don't be tempted to put this upper on here, because once you do, you make this an SBR. And an SBR, if you're caught with that, without paying the tax stamp, it can really cost you a lot of trouble, and plus it can take away your right to own a firearm permanently. Now, one of the things that really gives the AR-15 pistol an advantage over, say, your AK-47 type pistols is that this buffer tube. Well, the buffer tube is part of the rifle, so it's just going to be there. It has to be there for the gun to function. And that's one of the beauties, is that you can get it up on your cheek and actually have a cheek weld. Now, with the 223 or 5.56, or even better, the 9mm, the recoil is not that great. So you're going to have some comfort in shooting. It's going to be able to hold it and to be able to shoot well. One of the things I will recommend, and one of the things I'm going to do, is I'm going to replace this Phantom flash hider for more of a recoil reducing flash hider, and that'll just give it more comfort when shooting. But being able to have something to be able to put your cheek on and rest it, it's not bad. Now, with your AR pistol or any pistol, you're not supposed to have a foregrip. Just one grip. Right here, your standard pistol grip. You're not allowed to put a forward grip extending down below. In fact, I've been to gun shows and I've seen guys walking around with pistols with the grip attached to the rifle, and even informed them they need to take that off. In fact, recently I was at a range shooting an AK-47 that had the front pistol grip on. After the video was made, they contacted the owner, the guy that had the AK pistol, and they told him he had to either take that grip off or come down and fill out the paperwork, which they were very nice about it, so he just removed the grip. In fact, here's a few scenes of that shot, and of course the gun had the pistol grip on it at the time, or the forward grip, and he has since taken that off. I think he's dead.
He ain't dead. And everybody behind him.
He's dead, I'm deaf.
Yeah.
Good night, man. But this will also show how the AK pistol doesn't have the same advantage of this buffer tube. Now, of course, the big thing the ATF is concerned about is that this would be some sort of stock. This is not a stock. It's a buffer tube. It's part of the pistol. The good thing is you can put an end cap on here. Now, what this really does, it helps it from sliding around. If I have it in my gun safe, it's not going to slide and fall down. So this gives it some cushion. This is not considered a stock by the ATF. One of the things they're really concerned about is that this is easy to apply a stock to it. That's where you can get yourself into trouble. You have a lot of stocks laying around, you have an open buffer tube, that can be a problem. That's the reason why a lot of people go with just your standard pistol buffer tube. But the big reason I used this was because I already had this buffer tube in my inventory. So it made it really easy to put this on. Well, then what I did was wrap this with paracord, and I've actually epoxied this to the buffer tube. This is an old style buffer tube. It only has 2 positions. I wasn't using it anyway. So it really made this easy to do. Also, with the paracord, it gives you some a place to put your cheek. It gives you some comfort. I would say that if you are using a pistol buffer tube, I would consider putting on one of the pads that they make for it, or doing something just to give it that cold metal feel to it. It gives it a little more comfort. Now, the other great thing about having an AR-15 pistol is that all the different accessories that go on the AR-15 rifle or carbine can also be applied to this pistol, with the one exception of your stock system. And of course, you're limited with your stock system, but in other ways, there's a lot of things you can do with a buffer tube that you can't do with a regular stock system. Now, of course, when building this pistol, I was able to put on the parts that I really wanted to, and so one of the first things that I did was go ahead and put on my ATI Scorpion handguard. This is a fantastic free-floating handguard system. You can get it in a 2-piece, but I really like this setup, mainly because most of your Picatinny rails that you have the Picatinny coming out, getting right here. It's not very comfortable. And to be honest with you, how much of this do you use? With this kind of system, you can put the Picatinny rail where you want to. It's on there. It does give you the quality of aluminum, the strength, and yet you can put your accessories on the places you like. This is where I put my flashlight. This is also an 8-sided rail. On a standard quad rail, you wouldn't be able to put this Magpul sling attachment in this position. You'd have to move it to a different position. You can also put aftermarket sights right here to be able to give you some co-witness ability in case your scope goes out. Of course, I have these Magpul M-Bus sights, which I've reviewed. Excellent sights for the money. They do fold down, makes this a real compact package. Now this was also an ATI upper low profile Picatinny rail. But here's one of the things about having this equal rail system. If you have one sight that's up higher than the other, it really puts a strain on getting your sights aligned. And you're really having to go to extremes, either lower, higher, front or back. It just makes it a lot more trouble. Another thing you can't do with the Magpul sights, which I didn't say in my review, is you can't really put this on a gas block because it gets too hot. So you need to move it onto some kind of system that keeps it away from the barrel heat. Now I also chose to put on the low profile gas block because I knew I was going to put my sights right on the ATI handguard. I have a regular Phantom suppressor here, flash suppressor. I will be changing this out pretty soon for something that is a little more recoil management, just because of the nature of a 10.5-inch barrel and without a stock. It is a little more excessive than your standard carbine. Now the ATI Scorpion grip, which I really love this grip system, and not only is it very ergonomic with the finger grooves, but it has this rubberized pad here that is an incredible recoil absorption pad. And this is a fiberglass reinforced material that is super strong, and then you have this soft cushion right back on the back. One of the good things I do like about it too, because typically 5.56 or 223 is not that much recoil, but because it's a pistol, you're getting a lot of the recoil right here in your hand, whereas normally you'd be getting it in your shoulder. And the other thing about a pistol as far as recoil is you're having to really grasp the front handguard a little more with a stronger grip than you would typically. Now for the safety, I put on one of the Battle Arms Development ambidextrous safeties. I really like their system because they have different paddle configurations that you can put on. And then of course here you see the other side. Now to be honest with you, I've never been big into wanting or even seeing the need for a ambidextrous safety or selector switch. But once I started doing a lot of the defensive tactical carbine classes, I found out this was invaluable when I've switched to weak hand. So having an ambidextrous selector switch to me is really an important part if you're really trying to get this rifle to its optimum. Now a lot of guys think they're going to buy their AR-15 pistol and be able to put it up on their shoulder here. And you know, that may be fine. In fact, I've shot it that way a little bit. It is not comfortable to shoot. In fact, it brings you to a real unnatural shooting position.
There you go.
You can do it, but it does get you kind of cramped up. The other thing is too, with this, even with this 5.56 or 223, the recoil is not that bad, but honestly, you get your face up here next to the charging handle and it will pop you in the nose, which will be very uncomfortable. So really, putting it here, being able to shoot it, it's comfortable enough, and yet I love the size of this little pistol. Of course, when I say little, that's all relative to the AR-15 carbine. This is still one heck of a large pistol. Now I have the Magpul 1 to 2 point sling on here, which I really like this. In fact, I'm doing a separate review on the sling system itself. But what this does, I can come right up here and put it on this attachment, and then I have a 2-point system, pull it off, go straight into my single point system. Makes both hands free to be able to do other tasks, and yet has your pistol or your firearm really handy. I think once you have some experience with an AR pistol, you'll understand many of the tactical applications that can be had with this really small firearm with a heck of a lot of firepower. And no, I'm not recommending this for concealed carry, unless you're wearing a big, large overcoat. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Pistol, you'll find that there are many tactical. What's a tactical? And so that way my sights are on par together. It's too high, one sight is too low, it makes it, dadgummit.
That barrel ought to be smoking.